It's an image that has shocked devotees across the world of police and government officials entering the Kanagasabai of the Chidambaram Temple in Tamil Nadu. Why did this happen? What was the need for police to be sent by force into the temple? While the priests have alleged that this is a desecration of the temple premises, the government says we were only acting to protect the rights of devotees to get darshan in the Kanagasabai. Subsequently, 11 dikshitars or the priests have been booked for obstructing this entire process. What is important is to understand the genesis of this controversy. What led to this standoff? It started with an order by the temple body that restricted access of devotees to the Kanagasabai, which is basically a holy stage, an elevated platform to perform pujas in the Chidambaram temple. Now, the authorities say that this was done in view of the Aani Thirumanjanam, an annual temple festival. The festival sees massive crowds. And that's the reason why, at the time when Lord Nataraja is decked with valuable jewels, a security apprehension arises. A board was put up that for 4 days, the temple said, devotees will not be allowed to get on top of the Kanagasabai or the sacred stage. This order was in force from the 24th of June to the 27th for 4 days. It was this board that became the flashpoint between the priests and the HR&CE department of the Tamil Nadu government. What happened is that 2 days ago, officials of the HR&CE department, along with cops, not just removed the board amid stiff resistance, but allegedly even entered the Kanagasabai and got into an altercation with the priests inside.
Now, recently, the Aani Thirumanjanam festival, which is one of the 2 annual festivals, great festivals in Chidambaram, was celebrated. 50,000 to 75,000 people come for these festivals. This is a time when the ancient, very valuable jewels are decked on Lord Nataraja. And after the Aani Thirumanjanam, for 4 days that alankaram is kept intact, so that people who did not come for the festival can also come and have darshan and look at the Nataraja with the same alankaram. And this is the reason, because of the very valuable jewels and because of the very huge crowd coming during festival time. Dikshitars put a board saying that for 4 days, people can have darshan from below. And this is a practice which they have been doing for centuries. HR&CE department found this as an opportunity to create ruckus in the temple.
Now, the state government insists they only acted in the devotees' best interest to ensure that they have unhindered access and darshan. They quote a government order that was issued, which asked for the temple committee to review rules that restricted access to the main platform. By the way, the very legal status of this government order is also challenged because in 2014, a Supreme Court order made it very clear that the state government cannot interfere in the management of the Chidambaram temple. And that is the reason why this episode has led the BJP to allege that this crackdown is nothing more than political vendetta and also a ruse for the DMK government to try and take control of the temple and its funds.
சட்டப்படி பக்தர்கள் சுதந்திரமாக இறை வழிபாட்டிற்கு அனைத்து உதவிகளையும் இந்து சமய அறநிலைத்துறையும் அரசும் செய்யும். இதில் யார் பெரியவர்கள் என்பது பிரச்சனை அல்ல. இறை என்பவர்களுக்கு தேவையான தெய்வத்தை வழிபடுவதற்குண்டான அனைத்து ஏற்பாடுகளையும் செய்து தருவதுதான் எங்களுடைய நோக்கம்.
See, this is unwanted, unwarranted, and it is unconstitutional. What the government has done is definitely not right. The government is doing a panic reaction, vendetta politics strongly. And the government, in order to to take over HR&CE, take over the temple, it's trying to threaten the dikshitars and also the devotees and create a panic among the devotees.
The simple question then remains, is police action justified on a restriction restriction that was imposed for just 4 days during the festival in order to regulate crowds? Can the state intervene at all in matters of the temple when Supreme Court orders about it are extremely clear? And finally, is this a fight for the rights of access of devotees, or is there a larger fight here at play to control the temple itself? Uma Anandan, Vice President of the Temple Worshippers Society, joins us along with G. Chandrasekhar, who is advocate for the Chidambaram Nataraja Temple. Vikraman, spokesperson of the VCK, joins us along with Dr. P. Pulla Rao, political analyst. But my first question is to Mr. A. Saravanan, spokesperson of the DMK. Isn't this action excessive, sir? Would you see in any other place police and officials of the HR and Hindu Religious and Endowment Department enter a temple?
Who are the dikshitars? Are they super cops? Are they security experts to manage crowds? They have been empowered by the Supreme Court to maintain the temple. Under Article 26 of the Constitution of India, as absorbed by the Supreme Court, they may continue with what is happening inside the temple the way they want to perform the religious duties towards the God. To that extent, they have control. When so many people are coming in, how will they manage? Why have they not consulted the HR&CE or the local police? 50,000 people are coming. Who is responsible for the safety and the lives of the devotees there? Why the dikshitars have not done this? This is the question here that prompted, and they may have under Article 26 a power to maintain the temple. This is the temple built by the Chola kings, not owned by the dikshitars. So under Article 26 they have a right to maintain it. That is all. That is all.
No, they also have the right to. They have the right to administration, sir. But we'll come to that in just a second. We'll come to that in just a second. I'm asking you a simple question to begin with.
Padmaja,
and a simple question. I will come to the legal point in a second. Simple question. Would you see in any country or in any part of our country police entering a temple? Police. What did they do? They said for 4 days, to control the crowd, we want to restrict access to the main hall. Why did you need to send in the police?
Yes, the question is this. The point is very simple. I am asking, who are these dikshitars to have control over the crowd? They can administer the temple only with respect to the way they perform pujas and how they give this thing to the devotees. Apart from that, if something happens to the devotees, who is responsible? Are the dikshitars responsible? Every life and safety of the devotees is sacrosanct. It is more important, more valuable than anything else. That apart, I will put it this. Who are these dikshitars to violate law? Did the Supreme Court give them the authority and power to violate law?
What law are
they
violating?
To marry off children? To discriminate people on the basis of caste and community?
Again, that particular case is under litigation. It is a matter of investigation. We cannot comment on it. I want to stick to the issue here. You are saying, Miss Uma Anandan, hold on a second. I don't want it to go in all different directions. Hold on a second, sir. You had your opening comment. On the very specific issue, Uma Anandan, Mr. Saravanan says, dikshitars can regulate the working of the temple, not the crowd of devotees. Who goes in and out, the dikshitars cannot decide.
See, two things I would like to ask. I think Mr. Saravanan should do his homework properly, get rid of his Dravidian hatred towards our temple. Why are they always picking on this particular temple? Because it has bruised their ego that 3 times we have gone and got the order from the highest court. And he talks about protection and security. Let me ask him this question. During Kartigai festival or Adi Amavas in Melmalayanur and in Thiruvannamalai, are they doing the same thing? Are they doing the same procedure? No, because they are controlling. And this is one temple which belongs to the dikshitars only. He cannot ask who are the dikshitars. And mind you, these dikshitars have maintained it well. They have the record straight. While this HR&CE department is controlled 30,000 and odd temples, does not have record for even one temple straight. There is no external audit. While these people have ordered Ernst & Young and have their audit reports ready. And this particular sabai, they allow during the other times these four things, he speaks about law and order situation. If Nataraja's jewels go missing, they'll be waiting to pounce on the dikshitars. They are waiting to pounce on the dikshitars to confiscate this entire temple because this dikshitars had the guts to go to Supreme Court and prove that they are a denomination. He asked who are the dikshitars?
Okay.
The dikshitars are denomination variety who have gone to Supreme Court 3 times and won the case. So let him do his homework properly.
Respond, Mr. Saravanan. Not only do the dikshitars have the right to regulate the religious rituals, but also the movement of devotees, and they are saying very clearly it's for 4 days to ensure that there is no overcrowding, that the ornaments of Lord Nataraj are kept safe. 4 days.
That is, yes, see Padmaja, that is why I ask you a very simple question. Let anybody answer. Are these priests, they are super cops? What expertise do they have? It is the duty. It is the bounded duty of the state government when it comes to the matters of security, when it matters about the livelihood. Thereupon, see Article 26 D clearly states to administer such property in accordance with law. What law? The law laid down by the HR&CE, the law laid down by the state governments. We will have control when it comes to property, administration of property. What are these dikshitars doing? What is the allegation against these dikshitars? That they are not rendering true and proper accounts. Why nobody is allowed?
That is not
if you
true, sir.
Do
an
a
audit
study
was
there,
ordered.
local study there.
An audit was done.
No,
sir, an audit was done based on your
here.
demands, and that audit came out all clear for the dikshitars and the temple. A proper audit was done.
Padmaja, I'm saying now we are, yes, see, that's what the question now here is this: why people were not allowed on this Kanaka Sabai? That is because earlier the allegation, the accusation is that they got money and people with money only were allowed there. That cannot happen in a democratic country.
Really? Let's go across to Mr. Chandrasekhar. He's an advocate for the Chidambaram Nataraja Temple. Discrimination is now being alleged that you were regulating the movement of people and only those with money, Mr. Chandrasekhar, were being allowed on the Kanaga Sabai. So it wasn't about regulating crowds. You were making money by ensuring only rich people come onto the Kanaga Sabai. That's why the government stepped in.
Absolutely false statement. I think Mr. Saravanan has not been visited the temple, and in fact, if that is so, that should have been an allegation against this. Where is the proof? I simply put it this way: prior to COVID, there was some entry into the Kanaka Sabai because the number of attendants to the temple in pre-COVID times were only 1,000. And during only the weekends there will be some crowd. So there was a restricted admission to the Kanaka Sabai during the time when the Kala Pujas are not held in Kanaka Sabai. So that was the practice. So after COVID lockdown, what has happened was this dikshitars, there was a surge of crowd, more than 5,000 in daily on a daily basis, 20,000 to 30,000 during the weekends. So there is an uncontrollable crowd, the rise in attendance of the devotees. So then the administration thought it fit. Now Mr. Saravanan saying collecting money. We never even discriminate anybody on caste or religion or even whether they are rich or poor. So all of them were having darshan behind this Kanaka Sabai, and nobody is discriminated. No
Okay,
VIP
there is no discrimination.
No special ticket.
Okay.
In fact, what is very important is there are 4 entrances. If anybody is entering into the temple, within 5 minutes, they can have the darshan of the main deity. It is not possible in HR&CE temple of an equally important big temple where there will be queues, there will be special darshan, now even a break darshan. So which is not there. Now Mr. Saravanan is saying as if he is got proof of collecting money.
Okay, Mr. Saravanan
This is
responding,
absolutely false.
then
This is
Vikraman.
absolutely false. This is oft-repeated allegations made by these people to defend
What
the
is the proof of
undefendable.
discrimination, Mr. Saravanan? Put your proof. What is the proof of discrimination and money making? What is your proof?
Yeah, Padmaja. Yes. Yeah, Padmaja, in February 2022, a video emerged of a Dalit woman being shooed away from the temple premises. A case under the SCST Act has been registered against 20 priests. What more proof do you require than this?
Sir, you are changing the goalpost.
The investigation will reveal what has happened.
Okay, hold on a second, sir. Hold on a second.
No,
Let's
I'm
look
not
at the
changing.
chronology.
You were asking about
First, you
the proof about
now you're constantly
discrimination.
changing goalposts.
I am talking about the proof
I have
of
a very
discrimination.
simple question, sir.
No, I'm
you
not.
sent in the police. No, let's not change goalposts. You did not send in the police
Yes.
because in June 2022 a case was registered. You sent in the police because now you are claiming that discrimination is being done in access to the Kanaga Sabai. So money was being made by the temple. You show me the proof. What is the proof you have that the priests were making money by restricting the access?
Yes, this is the accusation made. That is what I told you. Now you were asking me that this debate is about why
who?
the police and the HR&CE officials
this
entered
accusation?
there.
Who has registered an FIR? Is there an FIR? By a devotee? Here's the interesting thing. Here's the by which devotee?
See,
which devotee? Where's the FIR?
See, yes, Padmaja. The question now, the HR&CE officials entered because there was an altercation that was published in all the news channels. What the priests were doing, they were doing everything except praying to the God.
What were they doing?
That is the problem.
What were they
doing? They
doing?
were doing everything else. They were
What
chewing
were they
away the
doing?
devotees.
So
This is what was available on
Where
the
is it
public
available?
record, public domain.
What
that
were
is
the
why
priests
the HR&CE
doing, sir?
officials have to intervene.
Where is the
It is
proof?
available in everywhere. The priests were restricting. They were physically restricting the devotees.
Umanandan, respond.
That is the reason why
Restricting the
HR&CE
devotees.
it is available in any number of videos.
Yes. See, the DMK and the DK can only point out at this temple because it has bruised their ego. They can always concord witnesses. They can forge false cases. And they are masters in this particular act. They can do all this. And this one who entered and protested earlier belonged to the DK party. And his case in Supreme Court was funded by these people. What right have they got to point out our fingers? Now I would like to ask Mr. Saravanan, what about people not being allowed in Melmalainur? Only politicians, local DMK, Panchayat Union, all of them are being allowed. Is that not discrimination? When a common man, a staunch devotee not allowed to enter Annamalaya during Paurnami? What is that? That is not discrimination. What the hell does he mean by that? I think you should stop calling this DK and DMK goons for temple issues for interview.
Okay, ma'am, please, no personal attacks. Also, they are in government, so we have to get their point of view as well. Let me bring in Mr. Vikraman, spokesperson of the VCK. We had, hold on a second. I think the others also need to step in. VCK is also putting forward your point of view. He needs to come in. Mr. Vikraman, you had the minister, Mr. Shekhar Babu, say TN government will not remain a mute spectator to violence perpetrated on the devotees. Contrary to this, the priests are saying that they have been subjected to the violence, that they were roughed up, that they were beaten, and one of them says that his janeu was also broken. How can someone be subjected to this behavior inside the temple?
Okay. Okay, Padmaja, can I ask a question to you? And one of my fellow panelists who thinks she knows everything about this Indian constitution and all. According to Indian constitution, is untouchability abolished in this country or not? According to Article 17 of our Indian constitution, untouchability is abolished. But sadly, in Chidambaram Nataraja Temple, it is still prevalent. The Kanaga Sabai, which is meant to be a place where worshippers and devotees stand and worship Lord Shiva, are not open to common public like Yadava community people, like other OBC community people, like SC community people. And when they tried to enter that Kanaga Sabai, a SC woman who tried to step on that Kanaga Sabai and worship Lord Shiva, which she herself uttered the word that Lord Shiva is like my father, she was not allowed to worship. She was thrown away from the place. She was, she was being abused by
Did this
using
happen
a caste
yesterday?
name.
Did this happen
The
yesterday?
Dikshitars called her Parachi.
Sir, did
Parachi
this happen
is a caste
yesterday?
slur on a woman, a SC woman.
Hold on a second.
And there was
Let's take
one
this one
Yadav
by one.
community man who was
Did this
trying
happen
to
yesterday?
worship Lord Shiva, and he was abused by his caste name. So I'm asking you, Padmaja,
This
can
is a
Yadav,
crime according
can
to
a
our
SC,
constitution.
Can other OBC communities, can they worship Lord Shiva in Chidambaram temple or not? My question is very simple.
Now you
is
are-
Lord Shiva only to Dikshitars?
No, it's not.
Is Chidambaram Nataraja
No, he is not.
Temple is only
No,
to
he is not,
Dikshitars?
and nobody should be discriminated
Are
on the
we
basis
not
of
supposed
caste.
to enter the
But
temple and
you are
worship
still not
them?
answering the question. Did all of these episodes happen
Simple. You
yesterday?
answered my question.
Was
The
the
debate
police
ends here.
sent into
Ask
the
it to go
temple
home.
yesterday
Let
because
all
a
go to the
Dalit
temple
lady
and
said
worship
that she
Lord
had been
Shiva. That's all.
discriminated against? So the question still remains, why did the police enter a temple? Nobody is being able to answer this one simple question.
Everything falls in line. Everything.
No,
is
it
all
doesn't.
Accumulation of all
If
these
you
things.
are connecting unconnected dots, sir,
It is,
then
it
one
is,
can
Padmaja.
also
You
argue
have been
that
telling
you
me
have
for
the
4
minister,
days to protect
you have
the
the minister
property of the
saying
temple,
we
they
will
close the Kannada
bring
I'm asking you,
Chidambaram
Padmaja,
temple
do you think-
under the
do you
control
think
of the
our
government,
OBC community
and then you
people
send
will
in the
block
police.
Chidambaram Nataraja
So you
temple?
could start connecting those dots as well. My simple question to you is, and please answer the question, why was the police sent into the Chidambaram temple? What was the reason for the police to enter the Chidambaram temple? Was it because this Dalit lady said I wasn't allowed? Was it because another person said he was addressed with casteist slurs? Why was the police sent in?
Okay, Padmaja, can I answer? If Times Now has guts, let it answer this question without muting my mic, okay? If you have guts, let me answer. Okay, the government, the state government is by the people and for the people, okay? If the police is stepping in the temple, they want all the people to go worship gods. If something or somebody is prohibiting people from entering the public place, the government has to step in. The government machinery in the name of police, they have to step in. This is the process. If you do not understand the process, go read Indian Constitution.
All
go
right,
read
so
what
let
is
me,
democracy.
maybe I'm terribly
Obviously,
ignorant.
police will enter.
Let me
I
actually
am
bring
challenging
in
you here.
who has
The
extensively
government
read
will
the
take
Indian
over the
Constitution.
Chidambaram Nataraja Temple for sure.
J. Sai Deepak, respond to this.
First, no person was stopped from worshipping in the temple. There is a specific altar which the dikshitars have prohibited the devotees, regardless of their caste, from stepping into the picture because it becomes difficult for them to manage this particular temple. Please note that the Chidambaram temple has been under attack for close to 4 decades from Dravidinist hooligans and their governments simply because they see this as a Brahminical institution, as a consequence of which they are repeatedly trying to violate the constitutionally guaranteed fundamental rights of denominational freedom to podhu dikshitars. Please note that in 2014 rather, 6th of December 2014 or perhaps January 2014, in Subramania Swamy versus Union of India, or rather state of Tamil Nadu specifically, the Supreme Court has categorically held that there are repeated attempts on the part of the state government to take over this particular institution despite its rights under Article 26 of a denominational institution. So when someone says, don't people have the right to enter the particular temple? Of course they do. But since it is a denominational temple with rights under Article 26, people will enter the temple only subject to the rules laid down by the podhu dikshitars. That cannot be taken away. This right is equally available to temples where non-Brahmin priests are appointed. So if someone says, assume for a moment if a Brahmin were to enter a non-Brahmin government temple to say, I am a Brahmin, I have the right of superiority, I must be given primacy of worship, I must have the right to enter the sanctum sanctorum and in places where others are not permitted, even that would be equally violative of the rights of that particular temple and the people who govern that particular temple. So this Dravidinist argument, which is being made by this person in the panel, is fundamentally stupid. It is anti-Brahmin, it is anti-Hindu, and it goes against every grain of the Constitution. I'm happy to quote chapter and verse from the Constitution and judgments of the Supreme Court to this person who seems to be legally illiterate.
All right, respond. Vikraman. And then Mr. Saravanan also wants to come in. Yes.
Okay, legally literate person. I don't know who that nameless person is. I want to remind him, even if it is mentioned in Supreme Court judgment, we will go against the judgment because it is against Constitution. It is against Constitution, man.
This is
let everybody go and enter.
40 years,
the sanctum sanctorum, everybody, every Hindu, SC, ST, OBC, everybody from Chettiar, Nadar, Naidu, Mudaliyar, Tevar, Kallar, Maravar, everybody, Yadavar, Pallar, Parayar, everybody, Arundadir, everybody should enter sanctum sanctorum of this temple. Why is this temple so special?
No, hold on a second. Mr. Vikraman,
or not?
are you sitting on national television and you are saying we will go against the Supreme Court judgment?
I'm talking about equality.
Are you saying that you will violate a Supreme Court judgment because you think you can?
Outside temple. Why only dikshitars should come in?
In a temple, the priest and the rules are supreme. Whether the priest is a Brahmin or non-Brahmin doesn't make a difference. Sanctum sanctorum is not open for every person. The sanctum sanctorum is open only for the priest, even if it happens to be a non-Brahmin priest.
Okay, Padmaja, can I come in? Can I come in?
No, you cannot. Just for a minute. This DMK government has insisted on prayers in Hindu institutions alone to be conducted in Tamil, but they don't have the gall, the gumption, and the guts to impose these rules when it comes to masjids or to Christian institutions. This is the nature of this particular government. This is the nature of Dravidism.
Okay, here I have to answer. Padmaja, I have to answer.
No, I'm so sorry. Their encroachment is reserved only to Hindu institutions. This is a position that they have taken since 1917, ever since this damned movement has started. So this is a fundamentally anti-Hindu movement, which is nothing but...
Okay, wait, now Mr. Saravanan wants to answer. Lawyer to lawyer, it's anti-Hindu, anti-Brahmin, anti-religious practices.
Yes.
Mr. Saravanan.
Yes. Padmaja, who is this Hindutva gun who's coming here and preaching law to us?
Okay.
He thinks he's superior because
Padmaja, are you going to allow this?
Are we going to now descend into name calling, sir? Let me introduce both of you to each other. Mr. Saravanan, you are spokesperson of DMK. J. Sai Deepak is a senior advocate. Let's please be respectful and civilized to each other and refer to each other by our identities. Go on.
He has to extend that courtesy first. He will get what he hopes. See, we had the President of India, the first citizen of this country, the President of this country. Sir, when you abused, we were listening.
Okay, one at a time. I'm going to take 10 seconds. I'm going to take 10 seconds time out, Mr. Saravanan. Please come to the point. The simple allegation is that this is not about 4 days. This is not about restrictions. This is about a grand plan. And Mr. Shekhar Babu himself has said that we will ensure that we take over the administration of the Chidambaram Temple. He's made no bones about it. He said it on record.
Yes, Padmaja, BJP is a party for the upper caste Hindus, of the upper caste Hindus, by the upper caste Hindus. We had the first citizen of this country stand outside. We had Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav.
Chidambaram Temple is about the devotees and their rights. It's not about the BJP or you.
I'm talking about caste discrimination.
What caste discrimination happened yesterday?
Can go inside the temple, touch the... This is caste discrimination. What else is this? Why would you stop the first citizen of this country? This happened to Ramnath Kovind. And here we have this gentleman coming and talking about so many things. We are a party, the BJP is a party which is anti-Hindu.
Sir, this was about regulation of the crowd. That is it for 4 days. If they had to discriminate, okay, Sai Deepak respond. It's come down to caste now. Okay, hold on a second. 2 specific points, J. Sai Deepak. 1, this discrimination was done caste specific, and 2, Mr. Saravanan says, while the running of the temple and the rituals may be the right of the priests, law and order and crowd control is the job of the state government and the police, which is why they intervened.
3 responses. If somebody has a problem with the Supreme Court's verdict of 2014, it's 2023. The DMK has been in power for quite some time. They've not done anything to seek a review of that particular judgment. Let them go and knock the doors of the Supreme Court before they make statements on a public platform like this. Point number 2. Mr. Shekhar Babu has made it abundantly clear that the intention is to take over the temple, and therefore this is nothing but an excuse that has been created. 3. The restriction with respect to that particular platform within the temple is regardless of caste. It means that except for the priest, nobody is allowed on that particular place, primarily because of crowd control. And please understand, when someone says crowd control is entirely within the domain of secular affairs, they don't realize the fact that this is a denominational temple which has very specific rights over management, even of its secular affairs under Article 26. This is a finding of the Supreme Court in the context of the Chidambaram Temple, which has not been dislodged so far. 4, the DMK, considering the atrocities that are committed on the SCs and STs by the people who populate the DMK and its constituents, certainly does not have the moral authority to pontificate to anyone about caste discrimination. Foisting the BJP in this particular picture has absolutely no basis. The BJP is irrelevant to this particular equation. In fact, the BJP too is equally guilty of taking control of temples of Hindu institutions across the board. So let me actually call out this nonsense for a moment. Congress, BJP, DMK, TDP, TRS, every party in this country is equally guilty of taking charge of Hindu institutions. So the BJP is equally guilty. No person on this panel who wants to bring up the BJP as a protector of Hindu interests can actually make that particular case in the context of temple control, because in every state, including in Karnataka, they made the statement that they will actually withdraw their control, but ultimately they gave up, they couldn't do so. The only place they did was in Uttarakhand, that too because 20% of the population revolted against the takeover of the temple by the Uttarakhand state government under the BJP. Until then, even the BJP did not relinquish control. So nobody is holding any brief for the BJP here. We are holding brief for Hindus and Hindu institutions. There's a difference between the BJP and the Hindus. Let it be very clear.
Absolutely. And in fact, in trying to get in politics, Dr. P. Pulla Rao, it is to obfuscate the real issue. Here is a community saying, leave us alone with the rights that the Supreme Court has given us. Please do not try and control our religious affairs. Why does the attempt continue? And again, I keep coming back to that original picture. I think in our country, it would be very scarce that we would see images of the police entering a temple. Everyone is treating it as if it's the most casual development. The police entered a temple. And the government is trying to justify it.
Now, let me tell you straight.
Was there a crime committed inside?
No, that's not so
Were the
unusual.
priests committing a crime? Was there a mafia or a drug ring going on from inside? Was there misappropriation of property happening inside? No. All they said was for 4 days we have our festival. For 4 days, they haven't even permanently stopped the movement of people. 4 days, we will not allow you on the platform. 4 days.
So let me just come to the point. It's got a very great history, this temple. We all respect it. And the larger issue of temple control is still continuing. No government or the courts have taken any decision on all of that. Keeping that in view, the Supreme Court judgment of 2014 was a great boon for the dikshitars. They should have been very cautious, very careful to work professionally, never allowed any government to point a finger at them. By this time, they would have set an example to the whole country that we can manage temples, we can be progressive, but they're not doing that. I'm very sad at this. I just heard Mr. Sai Deepak, and I agree if other religions have their own control of their institutions, why not the Hindus? Here is one of the biggest temples in the country. The dikshitars should have been very cautious.
But what did they do to invite this action?
Negative attention to themselves.
Okay, Sai Deepak and then Uma Anand.
Let me tell you.
No, let me answer this question. Let me answer this point. What is it that the Dikshitars have done which is either illegal, which is casteist, or which is mischievous in nature? They are constantly expected to prove themselves to a scoundrel department such as the HRC department, which is full of rogues, and which the Madras High Court has clearly said is hand in glove with actually thieves of idols. Are they expected to prove
Okay, Mr. Saranya is responding to you. He has got 3 specific allegations. He's responding to you.
Hey, mind your words, man. Mind your words.
I'm sorry,
Mind your words.
language.
Why are you inviting such people? People who does not know how to, does not have manners. Why do you invite these people? Why do you invite such people who does not have manners?
In July 2021,
this man is representing the Hindus. What a joke!
The court has said that the
Stop using foul language. Don't think by using foul language you are superior. You are not. You are not. You are an apologist. You are an apologist for the oppressors.
Okay. For a second, sir, let me just pause you for a second. And let's just correct this whole narrative of oppressors versus casteism. Let me quote to you an example from not very long ago, 30th of January 2023. A DMK leader abused a Dalit boy for entering a temple. A DMK leader, sir. So let's not make this into, BJP versus DMK, Brahmins versus caste, Dalits, etc. This is very specific to what has been done to the Chidambaram temple. What did the Dikshitars do to invite this kind of behavior? Mr. Saravanan, do you have an example?
See, that's what, let me put it this way. If something happens inside the temple, because of the mismanagement of the dikshitars. They don't know how to control the crowd because they are not experts. Who will be answerable? Is it not the state government? So who has to take control? The state government. That is why we took control over there.
No, the Supreme Court has said very clearly that they are empowered to carry out the functions of the temple without the interference of the state government. The Supreme Court has said it. Where is this claim of yours coming from?
Yes, Padmaja. Yes, Padmaja. Yes, Padmaja. Can they violate Article 14? Can they violate?
When have they violated Article 14? So you are dancing between two arguments. One, you are saying, oh, they cannot administer the temple.
I am not dancing.
Then you go to Article 14.
I've told you, Padmaja, case has been registered against them under the SC/ST Act. Look at their past conduct. They were into child marriage.
Okay, past conduct is still being held against them. Uma Anandan, first you respond, then Sai Deepak. Past conduct is the albatross around their neck.
Please ask Mr. Saravanan, what about the local village panchayats, 4 or 5 incidents where the DMK councillors, panchayat board members did not allow an SC/ST member to sit on the chair equal to them. They made them sit on the ground. So first, let him rectify all those within his realm and then come to Chidambaram Temple, which is not under their realm. And second, I would like to ask him, he says that police have the right. What are they doing in the other churches and the other incidents? Mosques, are they allowing the police to enter that? During the Nagur festival and Velangani and all that, are they allowing them? And why should they pick on this Chidambaram Temple alone every day? And these are all false cases foisted upon the dikshitars because this temple is always rubbing salt into their eyes. They would like to catch hold of this temple because it got away from their cruel clutches. They would like to come hither. Mr. Shekhar Babu made it abundantly clear. Okay. So let them not come here and lecture about untouchability and all that. What about the Pudukkottai incident where they had shit in that water tank? Have they punished the culprits?
Language, please, language.
First, let them rectify all those within that and then come and preach us here on the national television.
Okay, before you respond to that, J. Sai Deepak wants to quickly add and then Mr. Vikraman and Saravanan both will answer. Yes.
There are any number of instances, reported instances, of the HRC department being hand in glove with smugglers and with state police officials, which the Madras High Court has actually commented upon and held in a judgment of July 2021. So I have not used or said anything which cannot be supported on the basis of facts. 2, there are reported instances, not just of child marriage, of child abuse going on in the religious institutions of other communities. What steps have been taken by the DMK government? Would they have had the very same guts to actually allow the police to step into any of those institutions in full public glare with the media watching? Therefore, this is nothing but one of their anti-Brahmin, anti-Hindu shenanigans, and they constantly use the SC/ST Act as a weapon against this particular community. It's time somebody called this out. I'm calling this out. I'm so sorry to say, if there is one community that has actually suffered under the DMK, and this is contrary to popular perception, it's the Brahmins and the Dalits, because the Dalits are constantly violated by the DMK and their constituents and the Brahmins. Both these communities, this is a fact. Take a look at the history of their antecedents since 1917. This has been the case. Huts are tossed on a regular basis in constituencies where the DMK is in power, and those huts belong to SCs and STs. This is equally a fact. Let them counter me on facts on this particular issue, and I'm happy to take them in a public debate.
Okay, Mr. Vikraman, respond to this. Talking about caste discrimination, talking about atrocities on Dalits is nothing more than a fig leaf to launch this kind of attack, which, by the way, has come 1 full year after that alleged case of caste discrimination. 1 full year. Did you storm into the temple because somebody alleged that they had been subject to casteist slurs? Did you storm into the temple yesterday because a Dalit woman was stopped from doing darshan? No. That happened a year ago. Did you storm into the temple because a child marriage was happening yesterday? No. All of this has happened earlier. The matters are in the jurisdiction of the police, and yet you have no one reason for what the police did yesterday. This is a fig leaf, Mr. Vikraman.
Okay, this is a regular, regular propaganda that SC/ST Act is being misused, Dowry Prohibition Act is being misused.
Nobody is saying that.
Domestic
Nobody is
Violence
saying
Act
it's being misused.
These
All
are
we are
all,
saying is unconnected
regular
to what happened
propaganda
yesterday.
Against, the vulnerable communities. It is again a vulnerable community. It is an attack on vulnerable communities by the media like you.
Sir,
like
again,
that these acts are being misused.
this is a
SC/ST
dog
Act is
whistle
being
that you are doing
I'm
by
very much
completely
saddened
misconstruing
by
and
Padmaja saying
misstating
this.
what I
I'm very
said.
saddened
I have
times
not
now
for a
saying this.
second said
Okay,
that
okay,
Dalits need to be
fine.
discriminated
Okay, fine.
against.
I'm asking a
What
very
I'm
simple
saying
question,
is
Padmaja.
that
Very,
none
very
of this
simple question.
explains what you did yesterday.
Simple question to you. Let me talk. You have given a lecture. I am a panelist. You are just an anchor. Listen to me.
That's okay. You're also just a
cannot give
panelist.
Lecture, okay? Okay. My simple question to the fellow panelist who said SC/ST Act being misused in this case is, was the Dalit woman being harassed or not in public? Was it in video? Was it in CCTV or not? Has he seen that video or not? Has child marriage happened in Chidambaram Nataraja Temple or not? Has child marriage happened with Dikshitar family or not? These are all facts.
If something happens in the family of the temple, of the priest, how is it connected to the management of the temple? Let him answer the question. If something happens in the family of the priest, how does that affect the management of the temple? What rights does it actually give the government to step into the particular picture? Second, as far as that SC/ST Act is concerned, they have to establish that a court is ultimately held that this was actually an instance of an atrocity being committed on SC/STs. That has not happened so far. So I am not going to actually say that this is either happened one way or the other until the court holds otherwise. When these people are bound to say that let the law take its own course, why don't they wait for it as opposed to actually using an unproved allegation to step into the picture? Clearly, this is nothing but a clear instance of a politically motivated action where the police wants to step into the picture, make an example out of a Hindu institution under the directions of an anti-Hindu DMK government. That is a fact.
Well, this will be challenged in court, and ultimately the court will decide it because the law must take its course. But can there be silence on this kind of an attempt to storm into a temple? Think about it. I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks very much, all gentlemen, Uma and Anand, for joining me. Let me go straight